evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio, your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast. As you guys know, the only podcast dedicated to the love and revival of our beloved drive-in culture. Joined as always by my co-host and general manager extraordinaire, Mark. Say hello, my friend.
Hello.
And king of the Mahoning, projectionist, owner extraordinaire, Jeff. Say hello, my friend.
Good evening, everybody.
And we're really excited for the continuing Owners Operators series that you guys love oh so much. And it's kind of perfectly timed because as these come out, everybody will be kind of in their season, in the flow of drive-in. Everybody will have drive-in on their minds. But today is a very, very unique story. 9 times out of 10, the news that we see come across our feeds is the unfortunate story of a family member outgrowing a drive-in and having to make that decision of, are they going to sell it? Is it going to be passed on? Does anybody want to take it on? And a lot of times we see that it's kind of the end of an era for a classic historic drive-in. But today we're talking about a legacy and preserving the legacy of the classic single screen Stone Drive-In Theater in Mountain View, Arkansas, which was built in 1964 and opened in 1965 by the legendary Shorty Thompson. His son, Bobby Jean, took it over in the 70s, poured his heart into it until he passed away in 2020. And now his children, Rachel Rushing, Landon Thompson, and Holly Jones, are the new owners, carrying on that legacy of their family. And we're really excited to have Holly Jones here joining us on the podcast. Welcome, Holly.
Oh, it feels very fancy.
I know it's a passion, what we do running the Mahoning Drive-In Theater.
Yeah.
This podcast is like an extension arm of that love of the drive-in, its current culture, the temperature of it across the landscape, and talking to not just modern owners, but, you know, the new generation of owners really, really excites me because we are in that same exact boat. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, this is awesome.
yeah, well, I have so many questions for you. We have so many questions for you, but with such a rich history, let's talk about Shorty, who's your grandfather, correct?
Yes. Well, I never met him. So everything I know about him was stories told to me.
But sometimes that's the best situation,
Yeah.
you know? Well, for us, like when I say legend in that intro, the story that we have always had of Shorty is that he had the entrepreneurial spirit, literally took his projectors in a truck across towns and showed movies and then decided, hey, I'm gonna carve out a perfect space for this thing that I love. Are we on the right track?
Yeah, I was actually just talking to my aunt the other day about asking her details that I'd heard from my dad but wanted to verify her stories because sometimes they have different takes on things. And I was asking about that because they used to take the projector in the back of a truck, and they, like she was telling me, especially there's a little town here called Big Flat. It's like got 100 people in it, and they would put up a sheet on the side of like a building and project movies. And then she was telling me that another town, Cave City, which was a little bit bigger, that at one time he would set up in one spot, and his wife, my mama Ruby, she would actually be showing a movie in a different location in like Batesville. So they had two.
Oh my gosh. So it was like a little circuit.
Yeah, little movies going on the same night, and they separated and did that. And I hadn't heard that before. It's not something that I was ever told before, but I was just because I was really like, can you give me more details on these things? Because I didn't think to ask for details, when I was younger.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the great thing about you guys carrying on the drive-in is it's preserving obviously the drive-in for your area, but it's preserving that legacy and those stories that can be passed on in your projection booth or your concession stand, talking about, and obviously this kind of shines a light as well, which is the whole goal.
Yeah.
So what was this idea, as much as of him coming to want to build his own drive-in? Was it that he had the success and was like, hey, I'm just going to create a home base?
I think from what Carolyn was telling me, they just loved doing it. They loved to show movies. They did it all the time. It was something he just enjoyed. And I know when they lived a little ways away from here, and for some reason they decided to build it here in Mountain View. And for a while he had the drive-in, and then he bought a theater, because it's kind of a mix. Like, my dad actually ran the projector at the indoor theater in the middle of town, and they had the Stone Theater and the Stone Drive-In, and they did both for a little while, and then he just closed down the theater. I wish I knew why at the time. Yeah. And then just had the drive-in.
When did he close the indoor?
It had to have been in the late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because my grandpa Shorty passed away in the mid 70s. I don't know. It's 74, I think. I'd have to look that up actually right at the moment. And then my dad moved back to help, my grandma take care of the place. And then me and my siblings that are helping me run it now, we were all born there. Like, literally, my mom had us at home on the drive-in. So all three of us were born there. Oh my God. Yeah. All three of us.
It's in your blood, literally.
Yeah, we grew up there. Like, when I was really small, when I started kindergarten, we still ran through the winter. I used to go to sleep on like a lawn chair outside by the ticket booth because it was late, and I didn't want to go back to the house. Locked up there by myself, and I actually started doing the ticket booth when I was that young, 4 or 5 years old. My dad would let me take the money because I had learned to do it and sold tickets, and he let me do it by myself. I was alone there most of the time, and everyone just never had any problems with it. Just did it. So
that is just so storybook. It's like something out of a movie. Yeah. The idea that he's hammering sheets up against barns and then is like, I'm going to make this happen. And the beauty of running a drive-in, especially one that is so family oriented and familial, is that opportunity to have those experiences with your family on the line.
Yeah, I mean, it was just it was the family thing that we did, because he had his own business, and through the 80s and 90s, I mean, honestly, they were keeping it like open with money from their other business
avenues.
Yeah, and we were pretty poor, but it was just something we did. Like, it was like a public service. I still say that to this day. It's kind of like a public service that we're doing.
That's amazing. I mean, that's really the trick. And after talking to so many owners now across the world, it's the heartbeat is like, you have to have that passion first and love for what you're doing above the idea that
I agree on that.
Because it's for a community. It's so important to have places like this. And certainly after the pandemic, it was the importance of this is so heightened now that our community was just like robbed of everybody. Right. So that's what I love about what we do, is every single night you do have multiple generations coming and appreciating what we're doing on a core level. Just the fact that it's there, movies become secondary sometimes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my favorite thing currently to do is events anyway. It's just so much more fun. It's just so fun.
Well, paint us a picture a little bit as far as the layout of the drive-in. Are you guys in the middle of a city? Are you?
Oh, we're very rural.
Rural? Yeah, that's the way to be.
Mountain View's, well, it's grown so much since 2020, because I guess so many people have moved from bigger areas to our area. It's kind of crazy for us to have so many new people coming in, but it's still still considered very small. The county is about 3,000 people for the whole county, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just like right near the city limit of Mountain View, and it's very small. I mean, there's like you can hear the cows in the field behind the drive-in.
We love that. Same, we love hearing the cows. Smelling them is a different story.
Yeah, the
The
smell
downwind
that's not really
nights,
a problem. Yeah, that's not really too big of a problem, but every once in a while before the movie starts, you can hear them move. So
all part of the experience. That's great.
Most people love it.
Well, single
very cool.
screen, just like the Mahoney.
Yeah.
I take it concession stand backed off from the screen, center field.
Yep.
Do you guys do walk-in or walk-up service, self-serve? How does your concession lobby, what's that laid out?
We don't, we have an outdoor counter. So it's like a walk up to the windows there. It's just outside.
I love that.
We actually remodeled that completely in 2020 after Dad passed away. I had to redo the whole concession stand. And then I did just add, the bathrooms are from the 60s. So when we tried to do the remodeling, literally the pipes had dissolved in the concrete in the ground. Yeah. So we wound up adding on the old bathroom space. We took down the walls and kind of added it into the concession stand. And then we actually bought a shipping container unit that was turned into 4 bathroom stalls.
Oh, nice.
And it was, so then further back from the concession stand where there used to be a playground area before I was even born, there's a nice flat spot where we put a gravel pad down and got the permits and stuff to get septic all installed. And so we were able to add 4, individual bathroom stalls with doors. So, they are not gendered bathrooms or anything. So I didn't have to deal with that. It's just, 4 new bathrooms. That was a very big job that was really important to get done for us because our bathrooms were so old before that.
We feel that pain. We opened in 49, so not only is it the dated bathrooms, but we always say that people must have been smaller back then because it was they squeezed the amount of as many stalls as they could into the space.
It's just we have the little 2-foot doors on the old building.
Tiny
little doors everywhere.
And dealing with a space that you're coming into that's been preserved, you're working with what you got. It's not let us just, add on additional space.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't really, there wasn't a lot of options. And finally coming up with a plan to fix that was, thank goodness. And it took us a long time to get it done because there was nobody working at the time. And the rates for everything had doubled and tripled, and it was just crazy. But it took a while, but we finally got it done.
That's great. I love that you guys have invested into it because that's important too. Is we've been very lucky to be able to work with the existing structure, screen, equipment, and be able to carry that on. But that natural investment into it, Yeah. And you took over in 2020?
Yeah, officially. We were helping him before that because he was quite ill.
So he had already done the investment into digital projection by then.
He did. In 2016, whenever we kind of had to do that, I think it was at the end of 2016, maybe. He wanted to do it. And so me and my husband does almost all of the digital audio sound things. And my brother does a lot. My brother does a lot too. But at that time, we drove from Arkansas. We actually drove all the way to Long Island in New York to take my daughter to meet a friend, but then we drove through Pennsylvania to pick up the digital projector in the back of our Sequoia.
Wow.
It filled it. Yeah, got it in there and brought it home.
I'm telling you, the hurdles that we jump to make things happen,
Yeah, we do stuff like that all the time.
Oh, that's too cool.
Yeah.
Well, sticking with your landscape, single screen, how many cars do you guys hold?
Well, the original amount has always been stated as 300, but in 2007, he sold got a lease for a cell tower. They put a cell tower in the far corner.
Right.
And that's probably removed about 25 spaces, I'd say.
Oh, that's not bad.
But there's a huge field in front of the screen. And so we're having the Eclipse thing coming up. And I've got lots of other space. But yeah, I'd say 275 now officially.
Oh, that's great. Any sort of kind of standout pieces of the drive-in, marquee, playground, anything like that?
No, unfortunately, no. In fact, we didn't even have a sign from the time I was born until 2020. There was an empty frame as the sign and had never been repaired.
Wow.
from the 70s, and it was empty.
Everybody just knew it was there.
Yeah, they did. In fact, some people would say it was like they liked it because it was secret. It was like a hidden place.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought that was cool, but I don't think it was really good for us. But in general, through so many years, we were just not very busy anyway. We were just locals.
Yeah.
And they knew where it was at, and he never fixed a sign. He never really did a lot of restoration, and he just, I don't think it seemed worth it to him. So
yeah, totally.
But,
well, let's talk about Bobby Jean's story, and where your father was as far as him coming in, taking over, running. It seems like 2 theaters. What was that?
I think the indoor was already. I think the indoor was closed by the time when my grandpa died. I believe that the indoor was already closed, and so he came back and actually wound up taking over the drive-in after a few years because he was helping his mother manage it. And then I don't think it took very long before it just became his. We were born, I was born in 82, and I know he started somewhere, probably between 74 and 76 is when Dad would have taken over.
Yeah.
Doing that. I've rescued a ton of old paperwork and records. So I'm kind of hoping to I've got all these old calendars. I'm kind of hoping to find more information about exact timing on that, but I don't know the exact dates.
It really is endless. That's our challenge of running the historic theater is Mark does a great job of digging up old ads and things that happened in our history just before our time. So uncovering that stuff is really great.
Yeah, that's cool. That's something I'm needing to do myself.
Yeah, it's it all comes. So Bob, was he set up out of town? Was he already like established and then came home to?
Yeah, he was running he had his own shop on the lake about an hour away or an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
And he repaired boats and engines and things. He used to work in a ammunition factory, I believe it was, during the war in the 60s. And he was I would consider him an engineer, basically.
Right.
And he had a shop set up there. And so when he moved back, he started doing engine repair, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, motorcycles, and other stuff.
This is a movie. This literally feels like a movie. The idea of like, I gotta uproot what I'm doing and come back and help out Mom.
I don't know exactly how that happened, but that's what happened. There was either like with my grandpa dying, and then unfortunately my aunt, who I also never met, was murdered around that time.
Oh, jeez.
I know that'll bring the whole mood down. So, but he came back to Mountain View and then set up that repair shop there after a few years. And that's what he basically did during the day, is fix motorcycle people. That's what the other part of our life was people there with machines to fix and
small engines and movies.
He was really into motorcycles and 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers. So
that had to be fun for you as a kid, for sure. Or dangerous, either way.
I was definitely into it as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, what we like to talk about is kind of the ups and downs of the business. And, it sounds like you guys are kind of that small town drive-in that was there for people and, again, wasn't so concerned about, expansion and all this other stuff. So what was it like when you were a kid, when your dad was running the drive-ins? Did you guys pull good crowds? Was it kind of up and down?
Yeah, well, so I just grew up with it, so I didn't really even think about it much, honestly. Like, it was always there. We were always open. We were open all year round up until late 80s, early 90s. I don't know exactly when. We would have pretty steady business, I'd say. Our tickets were still only like $2.50 at that time, and they sold concession for nothing. I don't feel like they really made any money on anything, but I really don't think they did. It was just something we did. And we used to have the old screen with the individual shingles. So there's tons of photos of it with holes all in it because they just, the slightest.
A loose shingle came out. Yeah.
Right. So it was like a little bit of a mess, but everyone in the town seemed to be used to it. And my dad was the kind of person that would climb up the back of the screen. So there's the huge iron like beams.
Yeah.
And they have little prongs, and he'd climb it up. He'd free climb it, and he'd walk across the top of the thing.
Wow.
And then he would, Yeah,
Do
we
his
had
repairs. Yeah.
yeah, and he'd put us, and then he would get well. At one point, I know we used to take the Jeep and pull up the thing there where he could work on it in the front. And then I remember him walking up there and dropping off from the top after he got like some mountain climbing gear, which is not something that's ever going to happen from me. That's not happening. But we stayed. I remember getting like like Batman or something. I think in '89 or '88.
Yep. The year of Batman. Yeah.
Like completely sold out kind of thing, or like Lion King. I mean, completely sold out on stuff like that. Just completely full. Him like letting people park in the roads to watch it and stuff. So
oh, that's awesome. What a great way to just timeline your life, I always do that with movie releases anyway, but it was so tied into your memories,
Oh yeah, that was my whole life, was just the drive-in. I mean, our phone at home, we had one phone line and we answered Stone Drive-In Theater, and had to stay off of it because it was always business calls, just drive-in calls, like what's on the movie, all day long. So that was it. That was what we did.
Yeah, it's just who you guys are. That's what I love. Is it makes total sense that you guys would not hesitate to carry this on. It's so a part of you. It's not like, oh, we occasionally liked it. It's like, no, this we were born and raised.
I mean, at first, I think it's like full on, like we feel like we have to, like responsibility. I mean, I think I could. I don't want to speak for my brother and sister, but I really love it. I'd say they would say the same thing.
Yeah,
it's just
that's
part
beautiful.
of life.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Well, the drive-in and its culture has always been kind of anchored in affordability for families to come out. Yeah. And looking at your pricing, you guys are still incredibly affordable. What do you guys charge for admission?
I still just $5 for adults and $3 for kids.
Killer.
Kept that same price and probably will for a long time, I figure.
Yeah, who's not coming for that,
Yeah.
What's your guys' landscape like as far as like movie going in the area? Do you guys have any indoors? Do you have any other drive-ins?
Yeah, there is. So one indoor opened up like 3 years ago in town, and I've not been in there yet or anything. It's there's not much around. There hadn't been an indoor theater here since like I don't know,
you guys.
Like 70s something.
Right. Yeah.
And they opened up a little one uptown. And then there's one drive-in about an hour away. I think it's the only other one in Arkansas. It's the Kenda in Marshall.
Oh, yeah.
And I've never been there. I've actually never been to any other drive-in, though I've been planning on the next vacation to like start checking out some of the cool ones.
It's tough. We know it. It's like, especially the seasonal drive-ins. Like you are like, okay, I got some time off from the theater. It's the winter. Everybody's closed,
Right, exactly.
Unless you're traveling,
Yeah, exactly. I thought, well, if me and my family, sometimes we'll alternate trips. If we take a vacation 1 week, I have to make sure my sister and brother, they don't want to go anywhere that week. We do. We kind of like, Rachel's like, oh, I want this week for this trip, and it's like, okay,
totally.
We're not planning anything that week because it's just us doing. Like my brother and my mom, actually, even on the slow nights, Thursdays and Sundays, they're basically always there. And then me and my husband and my kids, and then my sister and kids.
I love that you guys have your kids involved. That's the next generation.
Well, it's like I'm like, they have to, have to be there to learn, right?
Get out there and take tickets. I had to do it, right?
Yeah.
So what's the breakdown as a little segue? What's the breakdown as far as the work? Does one person run projection? Does one person book? Does one person run the stand?
Yeah, basically kind of. I do like bookkeeping and like try to do social media, which I'm not very good at. And I like to do the like event planning and management and like to work with the town, like when there's ideas or events coming up. I love to come up with that kind of stuff. My brother, he gets the movies booked and he's always there to make sure that everything's ready to go on the projector. And usually he's running the ticket booth, and then the projector, they just come on, one of them makes sure that it comes on at the right time.
Yeah.
And then it's usually me and my husband and my mom running a concession stand or doing whatever needs to be done. That's just the way it is.
That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah.
It's all hands on deck. It's just what we do. We do. As far as your concession stand goes, it's a great way to kind of get a flavor of the area. Obviously, popcorn rules the industry.
Yeah.
Do you guys offer anything unique? What do you guys offer in the stand?
I'd say it's pretty standard right now. I have some ideas that I'm hoping to eventually add. We've been slowly, like, we just added last year was our first year doing pulled pork, and my husband makes the pulled
Ooh,
pork,
yeah.
and it's really good. Like, I mean, so far it's been like extremely happy customer successful. He makes his own barbecue sauce.
Yes.
He's really into that he's just really good at that stuff.
Yeah, taking it to the next level.
No, we don't really have anything special yet. I've got some ideas I'm hoping to start doing, but our main thing that's so special is that we use real butter on our popcorn and always have.
Yeah.
And people love that. I don't know if the places do that or not, but most people will use oil in a.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's I love that the traditions that carry over at drive-ins and certain things just become a staple, you know. Well, I don't want to take up all your time. I'm going to pass it over to Jeff and Mark. But before we do, we were talking about it before we started recording. Mm-hmm. You guys are single feature. Is that every single night, or is that just weeknights? What's the deal?
We've been single feature for a very long time now.
For a very long time.
Yeah, I don't think he's done. I don't think Dad did double features even. I mean, by the time I can really remember in the late 80s, we were already single feature.
Wow. Yeah, we talked about it. And like in certain areas, obviously double features is part of the drive-in culture.
Yeah.
Connect to that. But in certain areas, it's really difficult to put on a successful double feature. You literally see your lot empty. Was that a big motivating factor in that decision?
I really wish I knew, because it was kind of before my time.
Right, yeah, totally.
We've tried a couple times where we did a double feature and like had maybe 1 or 2 cars stay and like nothing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't ever. And every once in a while I'll have people ask, well, I would drive up there for a double feature. Well, I don't. It just doesn't. There's just so few people willing to stay here.
Yeah.
You know, we're really I'd say we're really busy from about Memorial Day through Labor Day. Yep. In our area in Mountain View, it is loaded with tourists from about that time through the summer. And they come and will watch a movie, but they just don't.
Yeah, they're not looking to stay all night.
I would like to try some things like that, but every time we've tried, it's not been a success, and it doesn't seem to be helpful. And I know every drive-in does it, and I think that all the time, but I don't know what to do.
We have one near us that just announced it today that's their decision for 2024 is to kind of cut that loss and be like, instead of paying the studio X amount of percentage for this movie, why do that?
Well, that's
You're
interesting.
still getting your value.
Because we've always done it like this, and I wonder all the time whether I shouldn't be trying to do double feature. So that's nice to see. But it's every time it's been tried, it hasn't succeeded. And I mean, I'm assuming it worked well in the 60s and 70s, but he quit sometime in the 80s. And
yeah. It's nice to know that it's an option, because like that's the thing that we really have connected with young owners on is there is no rule book to how this is done. And the value that you offer your customers in your area, that's determined by you. That's not this kind of mandated thing. And let's be real, $5 for a single feature is still the greatest deal on the planet, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just working for us what we can handle anyway. And so unless I could come up with a better plan, I'm just going to keep doing it, I guess.
Yeah, this is your thing. This is your thing. It's been tried and true. Why not? Why change it if it ain't broke, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's working.
Yeah, well, I love your story. I'm going to pass it on over to the guys.
Thank you.
Mark, you got anything for Holly?
So I saw on the website that you allow people to enter the drive-in just to get food and leave.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating. And to me, that's a compliment to the snack bar if people just want to come in there for the food.
Yeah, there's quite a few people. We have, which I forgot to kind of mention, but most people, like one of their favorite foods is our nacho cheese sauce, because we don't use like the standard brands. We actually, my husband has even made the cheese sauce multiple times because it's mostly cheddar.
Yeah.
And it's very popular, and we put it on our cheeseburgers. And then he started making the smoked nachos, which uses that cheese sauce and his barbecue sauce. And we have a lot of people who like want to just stop in and grab a burger and nachos and popcorn or something and go home. The local.
Could you just pour the cheese right into my mouth? Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. It's really common for people to want the cheese with the popcorn.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, quite a few people like to just come and grab food, and we're like, we've always been like probably one of the most laid back places you can imagine. Yeah. Because if someone wants to come in and like visit somebody and leave, we don't, you know, we've always been that way. It doesn't matter. We're so small. And, you know, my dad was the kind of person, like, he would know when people were sneaking people in, and he'd say, you know, how many people you got in their trunk? And then he'd just let them go in. Like, he would let them in for free. It's just always been kind of like that. It happens still sometimes. The teenagers still think it's fun, and I just kind of giggle at them. So, but yeah, it's pretty, I'd say we're pretty laid back in our area.
And I see also that you sometimes will do some of your staff will dress up for the various films, which is a wonderful level of showmanship that just makes it, as you said, more of an event. Like for the Taylor Swift show, I saw that you had friendship bracelet tables and photo ops and all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, I tried to get all that. I was trying to make it a little bit special to come here to the drive-in and have a party-like atmosphere versus going to the theater or whatever. And that worked pretty good. Everyone had a pretty good time. That was pretty fun. And you see dressing up as all family. It's me, my sister, my mom, my daughter. Excellent.
It's all family. So, but yeah, I love doing that personally.
That's what helped make us what we are is various staff members, you know, letting their, it's complimentary. I say this, letting their freak flag fly and showing up in costume and doing amazing photo ops and sets and decor. And it just, it makes it more than just going to the movies. It's more personal, more interactive, more exciting to share your love of that thing with other people. That is
super cool, and I keep hoping that we're going to get to do more and more of that, like figure out how to do things like that. I'm just love it.
And it looks like your theater, I always do my digital spying before we record these, and I do the Google Maps and I zoom way in and I do so it looks like you don't have any probably light pollution at your theater. It looks like you have a neighbor on either side. Maybe one of them is your house, and but no like commercial development or anything like that.
No, none. In fact, that's with the eclipse coming up, and we're under the direct path of totality with 4 minutes and 14 seconds.
Oh, wow.
I'm advertising as like one of the only places that's not having music or lights or any pollution, and I've got an area set up for telescopes, etc. We have no light pollution, no sound, because it's just neighborhood. There's a farm on one side, and then there is where my dad's shop was, which I'm actually in the process of cleaning up for some expansion plans and stuff. But yeah, there's nothing around us. There's no industry. It's just houses and a farm. So it's just around. Yeah. And woods and stuff.
Whenever we're about to talk to a fellow operator and I scope the place out, I'm always so jealous of anybody who just has woods around them. You can be as loud as you want. You don't have other people making noise. You don't have headlights from passing vehicles on your screen.
Yeah, that's something I've never even thought about that being a problem, because it's always, well, first of all, he's let the trees grow up till they're like 100 foot tall. So like the tree line around the entire drive-in blocks it from everything anyway. But, you know, I just never had thought about that till a few years ago when I started looking at other drive-ins and thinking, oh my goodness, you know, there's a highway right next to you.
Oh, right.
Things. So, but no, we don't have that problem.
We've talked to some, in fact, we talked to the Kenda last year, and she had said that they had an issue with the nighttime, like, I don't know if it was baseball or football stadium lights from the high school across the street. Cool. And they had to actually work with them to make sure that, you know, time the shows or the games so that they wouldn't basically be washing the screen out.
Wow. Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah, but it's nice that it probably helps that the owner is or was a teacher at that high school. So
yeah.
So what kind of films do best for you? Family films?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, family films. We're hardcore movie enthusiasts, and we would run everything, but when we have to make choices, we stick with kids' movies and family. I would choose a family film like an Indiana Jones over even a kids' movie, but both of those two are by far the best things we can run here in our area. It's, you know, we're in the folk music capital of the world, and the tourists that come and stuff, and there's just a specific preference that they have for movies.
And you have a large percentage of your audience, part of the year you would say is probably the tourists?
Yes, definitely. From like Memorial Day through like Labor Day, it's just a lot of tourists. There's so many people in town. We have the Blanchard Springs Caverns here these are very highly visited areas for, you know, tourists. And so once they find out that we're here, they almost always make a stop. There's the rafting at Silver Creek and all of that. And there's campgrounds that like the entire place comes up to the drive-in and stuff, you know, like it's just a lot of tourism through the summer. And yeah, mostly family tourists. I mean, it's a lot of families, a lot of kids. It's really great.
It's a good selling point that we use to a degree too, is that we have a tourist town relatively close to us. And a lot of the people come and they do all these outdoor activities during the day. And the question is, what is there to do at night?
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly the same thing. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're, you know, on the creek or at the caverns and all these different things during the day. And then they're the people specifically who don't necessarily want to go sit and stay very long for the country music stuff. I should say the old-timey folk music played on the square through the evening. A lot of people will mosey on down to the drive-in if they're not into that for very long. And a lot of younger families are not into that as much as they are the outdoor stuff that's available here. It's mountains and woods and amazing trails and creeks and things. And so, yeah, they wind up at the drive-in, usually carrying their kayaks on their vehicle or, you know, in their swimwear. It's great.
Do you have any stories of customers arriving in strange vehicles or any kind of thing like that? Like I've been to drive-ins where people bring their own couch in the back of a truck and they set it up on the ground.
Oh my God. That happened a few years ago. We had a big thing on social media because someone brought the sectional center of a couch and they left it on the drive-in.
See where's now.
They set it down on the ground, and then the next day, and then they left, and then they left. And so we like post this post up about like, did someone forget their couch? No one ever claimed the thing. We had to haul it off, but it was hilarious. It's hilarious.
When I lived in New Hampshire, one of the local drive-ins was the Milford Drive-In, and I went there once, and somebody had brought a full-size couch, speakers on speaker stands, and an oriental rug that they sat that on. And it was like they had brought their living room to the drive-in.
So funny. I would be out taking so many photos of that.
It was something. And we've had people show up. We have a neighbor, speaking of people who come just for food, one of our neighbors nearby really likes our snack bar food, and that's his dinner on Friday and Saturday. Yeah. And he will sometimes come in on his riding lawnmower, and which is great. I would say he's the perfect customer because he comes in, he buys our most high profit item, which is food. He leaves and takes his garbage with him.
I would take a million of those. That's great.
It's great. And we had somebody come in on a motorized unicycle. That's probably the oddest vehicle we've ever had come in.
Yeah. On wheels. Yeah, I've never heard of that happening here. So, you know. Nothing so cool as that, for sure.
I figure over the years, we all have these stories of just these things that you say, that's one for the books.
Yeah, well, for us being in such a small area, I think the things that stand out in my memory, like one night, my mom called me and said, there's a couple that had just pulled in here, and they flew their plane from Heber Springs to Mountain View Airport and then took like a courtesy car to the drive-in just to watch the movie.
Oh, that's great.
Just to watch the movie. And they had just found out Heber Springs is about 45 minutes away or so. And I was like, really? That seems super odd to me. And then they'd come back kind of occasionally. It's just so neat to think about, like someone actually flew their plane. And I've tried to think of other odd things from when I was younger, but I guess it all just kind of blends together. It seems all normal to me. People I remember one time someone brought like a full-size outdoor, like the swing that with the legs and the swing that you can sit in and rock, and they
nice.
And they put it down on the ground. And a couple of times they brought pop-up tents and just threw them out on the ground, which that's probably pretty normal for other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured bigger places it is. Lots and lots of very old, pretty cool vehicles. And we have car shows around here and stuff, of course, but that's standard too. So I don't know. Oh, the Jurassic Park Jeep.
Oh,
that was my favorite. Someone did their park just like the Jurassic Park Jeep. And of course, that's not super special, but I loved it.
No, that's
So,
great.
yeah.
We've had people do that. We've done it a bunch of times now, but we ran Back to the Future and somebody showed up in a DeLorean.
A DeLorean, I know, that's like a dream. That would be amazing.
And it's just, they love the film. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why they have the car. So
Absolutely.
they contacted us and they said, is it okay if I bring my DeLorean?
Yeah.
The
Crazy.
answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely.
What kind of special events do you do there? You mentioned working with the local town to put on special things. I know you've got the Eclipse event coming up on April 8th, and you already have tickets on sale for that. But
yeah,
what else have you done?
Been selling those for like a year because I came up with that idea last year, and I've been selling them since at least late summer last year. For that, that's turning into a huge event here.
Good.
Like they're having a festival in town, and it's just a really big deal. There's a ton of ideas that I'd like to do. We've got some little community events coming up, and I've got wanting to do things like horror fests, and there's this idea floating around about doing a pickle fest and different things like that. One of the main things I've been wanting to do is work with the local Stone County Humane Society to do fundraisers and stuff for the animals and sell popcorn and all kinds of buy tickets for your dogs, etc.
We did something similar. We did a pet adoption drive for a local Philly. It was the Philadelphia Pit Bull Rescue or something like that. So we showed a dog-themed film and had people bring them out, and it was fun.
Yeah, that's the kind of things I'm like looking forward to trying to arrange. It's challenging to get it done, but I'd love to do. I think this year we're definitely going to try our first time ever to do a trunk or treat. I know it's easier for other places to get these things done, but it's just a few of us. We're working currently on a parade float because we have a folk festival here in Mountain View.
Oh.
It's gone for a very long time. The folk festival is an annual thing, and we have a bean fest in October. And yes, they do have outhouse races and things like that. So we're working on being in those. These are just things that have been around forever, and with us doing it now, we'd just like to be way more involved in local stuff like that. And just anything that pops up. Last year we had one engagement that was really neat to do. It was a surprise engagement. She didn't know that it was happening. So it was fun for us to help this person. Like we were pretending by parking all of our cars out there on the drive-in.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That they weren't the only one there, but they were.
Oh, that's great.
In the middle of the movie, the clip came on in the middle of her big Harry Potter movie. So it was fun. And we do birthday parties quite a bit now. I mean, obviously, we're just being in such a small town, we just kind of do what anyone is interested in doing and whatever I can come up with and make happen.
That's what we have going for us with drive-ins too, is that you have all those daylight hours where you're normally not doing anything with the property that can hold a food truck festival or swap meet or whatever.
Yeah, I've actually been trying to come up with I would really like to do a junk in the trunk or a swap meet type thing, and I've been trying to plan that out and think that I maybe have it enough that if I start, maybe I have it figured out. That's something I've been wanting to do for a while.
Junk in the trunk is genius.
That's what I was thinking of calling it.
My gears are turning like, wow, that's gold.
Every time I think about it, and then they're like, well, I don't know if we should call it that. I'm like, I think we should call it that.
You're like, definitely call it that.
Yeah, so
awesome.
That's a big deal here. A lot of people love to do yard sales here. And so I'm hoping to get that started maybe around May 1st or so.
Oh, that's cool.
We'll see. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we did, of course, during COVID was the first time. My dad passed away in January 2020. So we were just like,
newly taken over.
It was a surprise. And then we were starting to like, okay, well, we want to open the drive-in at our normal time. So we were taking over, and then COVID was going on. And so we had all those opportunities start to pop up where we had 2 live concerts, and that was the best thing. That was the most fun ever. And so that's my ultimate goal, is to get back where I could do live concerts here. That's a really big thing here with the folk music and the country music and stuff. So if in the next year or so I get that done, that's my ultimate goal, is to have the live concerts again. Even if they're not as big as having Toby Mac and Big Daddy Weave and all that, it would be amazing. So it's
the dream of you have ample parking, a snack bar and bathrooms, and no neighbors to complain. That's just, to me, that's the dream.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So the last question I had is one that I'm always curious about with single screen drive-ins in general, single screen first run. And that is, as people who listen who are customers may or may not be aware, to get a film from a studio, a big new movie, you have to keep it for a certain number of weeks. And how does that work for you? Because with one film, you're stuck with only one movie. With people who run a double feature, if the first film starts to drop off 2 weeks into their 4-week commitment, they can kick it to the second slot and bring in something new. Does it make you more selective about what you pick, or do you just basically roll with it?
Yeah, it's a huge problem, the overlap of some movies. When we tried to do this last year, actually the the company would not let us move the movie to the second slot. Like, they wouldn't let it. Anyway, it's a huge problem, and we do actually have some expansion plans in the works. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I do have the idea of adding on a smaller second screen. I do have a good space for it. It'll be much smaller. It'll only have about 50 cars, but honestly, most of the nights we don't have over 50 cars. We're just not that big. So if I can get that second screen added, then we won't have this movie overlap problem, and those movies can kick over to that other smaller screen, and we'll still be running a single feature on each screen, probably. We just have to make decisions and go with it.
You have to do what you got to do, It's
just the way it is. There was huge issues with overlap last year. You want to run multiple movies that are perfect for us, but you can't. They won't let you, and because they overlap, and we're already running into that same problem. We're going to be running Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and then there's the Godzilla Kong movie coming out.
That's right. Yeah.
So we run into this consistently. My brother tries to come up with good plans, and sometimes we just have to say, you know what, we'll run this movie, and then we'll fill in the gap, and then we'll come back and run the movie that's a little bit older, and we do that sometimes, and we just do whatever we have to do. I mean,
do you ever book far enough out so that you could tell the audience when you're getting a certain film far enough out so that they could know, like, if they want to see it at your drive-in, and otherwise they think, well, the drive-in's not going to play it, I have to go to the indoor theater, but if they see it's announced for a few weeks away.
Yeah. If we really make that good, if we really can plan that far, we definitely do. I'd like to do that. It's just, there's 3 of us, and we all have slightly different ideas on how to do things. And so we just kind of have to go, okay, well, I'm not really bothered by this, so let's just do it this way. But yeah, we would love to schedule things further ahead, but there's been a little issue the last few years with changes on opening dates.
Yeah, sometimes they delay them by a year, you mean?
Yeah. Changes and stuff. So I'm comfortable with posting that up and then just letting people know that, something changed. But we just kind of wing it. I hate to say this, but we're not very super adept at what we're doing. We're just all like, okay, this sounds good. This week we'll do it this way.
Again, no rule book. So, you just do what you do. Yeah, exactly.
We're definitely just pretending to know what we're doing. So
fake it till you make it, baby.
Yeah, that's us.
Jeff, you got anything for Holly?
Yeah, I have one question. You guys asked the questions pretty good. I only have one, but I have a little story to tell her first.
Okay.
Holly, go, and I'll tell you why I'm going to tell you the story. Where are you located as far as Little Rock goes?
Oh, we're about an hour 45 to 2 hours north, almost straight north.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Around, maybe Heber Springs or something like
Yeah, Heber Springs is about 45 minutes southwest of us.
Well, the reason I say that is because when I was in my 20s, I was in the Air Force, and I was stationed at Little Rock Air Force Base.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, they had 3 drive-ins in that area.
Uh-huh.
There was the Twin City Drive-In, the Razorback Drive-In, and the Asher Drive-In. I went to all 3 of them. In fact, the Twin City Drive-In is the last place that I actually burned a pick mosquito coil. That was
wow.
Because the mosquitoes down there are the size of garbage trucks, if you know what I mean. So, and what I found out is maybe a couple of years ago, I looked on a map, and all 3 of them are gone. All 3 drive-ins, I think, are long gone.
Yeah.
And that was what made me think of it when you said you think there's only one other drive-in in the state anymore.
Yeah. When I was a child, there was only 3. There was only one other one, and the Memphis one, and then there was one in it was really far down south, and I can't remember the name. And Memphis is actually, I think, on the Tennessee side.
Okay. All right. That could very well be. But all three in the Little Rock area, I found out were completely gone.
Yeah.
The Twin City was a housing development. The
Yeah.
Razorback had warehouses on it.
Yeah.
And the Asher Drive-In was just an empty piece of land. There was just nothing there.
Wow.
Nothing.
Yeah, I don't remember, like even as a child, I don't remember even knowing about those or hearing about those. So they might have been before that even.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
And then the question I had for you, I had to mention that because I thought it was such a shame that they were gone. But the question I have for you is, and it's a real simple one. In the projection booth, back when you ran 35 millimeter, did you have two projectors and used reels, or did you have one projector and a platter?
One projector and a platter.
Okay. I was curious because that was typical, but back then when platters came out. Ditch the one projector and put in a platter. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
cool.
what we have. We still have it sitting on the property in another building. So
beautiful. Do you guys do any kind of retro elements? I know you don't have an intermission built in with the single feature, but do you guys show like fun classic snipes, or is it trailers before movies?
So far, no. But my husband is actually working on some stuff like that. Hopefully to get introduced this year. He's in the media and all that kind of stuff.
If you need a connection, we're friends with Robbie Mack, who supplies a lot of drive-ins with digital classic ads. Yeah.
We might look into that for sure, because that's something we've been really wanting to do. He designs our t-shirts and all these cool stuff, and we'd love to start adding some of that vintage flair back into things.
Absolutely.
Sure.
It's part of our culture.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, for all the people listening that are lovers of drive-ins and traveling, why don't you let them know how they can find you, whether on social media or website?
Yeah, we have a website, stonedrivein.net, and then we're on Facebook for sure. It's like facebook.com/stonedrivein or something. I try to keep that posted regularly, but
right.
I'm not really great with social media, but I'm trying.
It's a game. It's a game.
And last year to try to learn how to do some of that, because it's like with we did the Taylor Swift, I called it a concert event type thing, and trying to get the right crowd to know about it being available here. So I was trying to reach a different audience that are not Facebook users.
Yep.
So trying to learn to do that, but that's basically our website, and we keep that updated. Cool. Generally.
How old are your kids?
Oh, my youngest is 20.
Oh, nice. Involved in the theater already, working, or?
Yeah, they both help. She's in college, and they're during the summer they do anything I ask them to, basically.
Yeah.
You show up and help anytime we need it, and all kinds of stuff. So
that's great. Yeah. My daughter works at the theater. She's 19, doing her college thing. So
yeah,
I love that you're keeping it familial, and you kind of have the next generation already putting their hearts into it, and being embedded in it. So
yeah, gotta train them up. Somebody's got to take over so we can have some time off eventually, right?
That's right. Well, thank you so much, not just to you, but your brother and sister as well, for carrying on that legacy again, of Shorty and your father Bobby. This has been an absolute treat. Hopefully we could make it out there at some point. Our seasons run in tandem, but we're gonna.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us to do this. It's really, really cool.
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the dream alive. Drive-ins forever. And on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night, and God bless you.